welcome back to A View from Brussels. My name is Brandy Miller, and I'm the editorial director of the Watcher Post EU. Today in the studio, I'm delighted to have member of the European Parliament, Hana Jalloul. Hana, thank you for coming today.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to be here.
So to give our audience a bit of a background of who you are vice chair on the Committee of Foreign Relations or Foreign Affairs in the Parliament, as well as rapporteur on the EU-Saudi INI report. But your background also stems from national politics, namely that you were former Secretary of State of Spain, as well as former member of the Spanish Parliament. From this distinctive political trajectory going from the national level to the EU level, I'd like to open up a bit softly for our audience if you could please introduce who you are and speak a bit more about this trajectory and what motivated you to the EU level.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this nice introduction and for having me here. Well, as you just said, I've been before in the government of Spain, Secretary of State for Migration, and I was in the national parliament, in the regional parliament also, and I'm currently also the responsible of international relations of the party, PSOE, party of government. I have always had a very international career, you know, because I'm a Spanish person from Lebanese origin, so I've lived in the Middle East for a while, time, and in other countries, so I like the international arena a lot. I have quite an experience there, and that motivated me also to jump over the European Parliament. It's a very interesting place indeed, because more than 70% of the law, you know, are worked on in this Parliament and affects all the member states. So it's a very relevant Parliament. Is very international. You get to be with people of many nationalities. So I'm quite happy to be here. So I would say that my trajectory have been always related to the international arena, and that I've been able to work with also injustices. As when I was Secretary of State of Migration, we work on very progressive laws related to migrants. We are very happy and we are very open about that, to give the right to work and give a dignified life to many migrants. So that was, I think, one of the things I liked the most.
Exciting. Well, thank you for introducing yourself as well as your very diverse background. Well, now we're coming upon your second year in the European Parliament, having just completed it, having been elected in last summer. Perhaps you could talk a bit of what surprised you the most of coming from the national level to the EU level, and namely your experience of your expectations and whether those have been fulfilled, or maybe you still have some expectations to be filled with the coming years.
Well, first of all, I might say that this is a very interesting Parliament, you know, due to different committees that we have, and you get to interact, you know, with officials, with commissioners at the Commission, you know. Council. This is very interesting, and I am working as Vice Chair of the AFET Commission, Foreign Affairs, but I'm at the DARP delegation, the relations with the Gulf countries, and I am in international commerce. I'm also working in that committee. I'm the reporter on Saudi Arabia in the relations between Saudi and the Parliament. So you get to have different files. I have all of them related to one to the other, because I think that, you know, international affairs should be also related to international trade in this case. These are my committees. We are seeing how important is trade internationally, you know, with all the things of the tariffs, for example, and because of the commercial agreements that we are working on, like, you know, Mercosur, you know, updating the trade agreement with Chile or with Mexico, and now with the strategic partnership with the GCC countries also. So we are working a lot on these issues, and this is the part that I like the most in the Parliament, that you get to do many interesting things and things that are really going to be implemented. But still there is a lot of bureaucracy, and sometimes I would ask for the parliamentarians, you know, I would relate much more the profiles of the parliamentarians, the members of the Parliament, with the dossiers they are working on. You know, I think this is something we need to be much more efficient and accurate. So you need to monitor much more, you know, the files you're working on, to give more inputs, and sometimes bureaucracy, you know, and some committees are not very related to the political will that Europe is having related to certain topics. I think that I would like to coordinate this much more.
Yeah, thank you for bringing up the point of coordination on the dossiers. And if we dive a bit deep onto one of the key dossiers that you're on, namely with the EU-Saudi relations, I'd like if you could tell our audience a bit more about your views on EU-Saudi cooperation and why is it important for the EU to strengthen relations with Saudi, with the kingdom, as well as within the wider GCC.
Well, I think it's just we are in the right momentum to do that. Saudi Arabia is a very international key partner for the European Union. One second, it's a key actor in the international arena right now for the peace process. You know, in Ukraine, in Gaza, for the, you know, when the government in Lebanon was built, in Syria now, just not only paying the international debt of Syria, but supporting the government in this transitional period. So because of the relations with the US, so I think in everything, you know, it's Saudi Arabia is playing a very important role. I think we should strengthen our relations with Saudi and all the GCC partner countries. They are reliable. We work with them in issues against terrorism, for example, and security issues, which I think is very relevant for the EU. This report of mine, if you can read it, is published. It's very much realizing, putting in place how important is our strategic relations with Saudi, and you know, trade, economic, commerce, and we talk also about human rights, labor rights, many things that are very important for the European Union. So I think that we need to see this from the point of view that we really need to go hand by hand with Saudi. Saudi is a country, as you all are aware, that have opened up a lot for the last 5 years and or 6 years. So I think we need to put this, you know, very clear and understand why we need GCC countries, and especially in the sense Saudi, to be a clear key partner of us. And well, calling for the also visa waiver, you know.
Yeah,
so
as well the visa waiver.
Yeah, that's an essential
right.
thing that is, I think, is very positive, and it's a win-win for them and for us.
Yeah. And on the topic of Saudi, they've also, at least in the UN, have been behind with France of leading the wave of recognition behind Palestine. So on that topic, we are aware that in the Parliament it was rather difficult to adopt a position. Does this reveal anything about the EU's role in the region?
Well, we should have to be more clear in our position related to Palestine, you know. It has not been very clear. Just recently, maybe a month ago, a month and a half, we could agree on the first statement with all the political parties in the parliament related to Gaza. We did not mention the word genocide because other political parties didn't want to do that. Although for us it's very clear from my party at least, you know. Not everybody on my political group, but it's certainly in my political party. The issue is that this is why you can see how a country, you know, or an organization like ours can lead more or less in the international arena. So you saw there that France as a country and Saudi as a country were leading in the recognition with many other countries, and he has a weight in the international arena that he has, you know. At the contrary, the EU no, because it didn't take a very clear stand. It took very long to take this statement. We have a lot of different opinions within the European Union when we talk about what is going on in Gaza, which it is not really very intelligent, you know, if we want to have our, you know, leadership and our weight, you know, as international power, because we support Israel and the Israelis always. This is one thing, and denouncing the thing that this extreme right government is doing in Gaza is another thing. We are against, you know, this government because of what they are doing in Gaza and the West Bank and the slaughter violence and everything, and they go against international law and the ICC sentences and against the international humanitarian law, and they are jumping all over the international systems. We need to say this. If we want to be a reliable actor and legitimate actor, we need to denounce these things. So not because you defend Palestinians means you don't believe in Israel. We do believe in the state of Israel. We do believe in the two-state solutions, living in peace, prosperity, and security. But you need to denounce these things. So this is the position. Like people is like, no, because if we support Palestinians like you are, you know, not supporting Israel. No, we cannot come into this kind of narrative because it's simply not true. So that comes to the question that because we didn't took a clear stand, this is where we are. I have to say that my president, Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, took a very clear position
as well
on the
yes.
recognition of the state of Palestine when nobody was taking it almost 2 years ago. And this has defined him. One of the things that has defined him and one of the leader he is now.
Yeah, on the national level, and we do see it a bit hesitant on the supranational level of the EU. I just briefly on the point of the role that Parliament plays in shaping European diplomacy, could you share your view of what role the Parliament should have?
The Parliament has a very important role, because it's a respected Parliament. And we can have much more. We don't have the competences of in international relations, for example, but we do do political statements that conditions, or reports like in airports, a statement or urgencies, we denounce situation against human rights in many countries, things like this, that really in many ways shape our relationship with many countries, So that's important. Mm-hmm. That's important. We do really have a leverage in that sense. We should have more, because also our role is to say sometimes to the Commission, hey, this Parliament is stopping against this idea, would like this idea to improve more, we need to collaborate much more in this, etc., etc. So the Parliament has a weight much more than people think or than people are aware of. And this is important. And I think, the competences are required, and we are, co-legislator in budget issues, so in financial issues. So I think we have a role. I think we need to have much more role and leverage on other issues, but this is related of what I said before. We need to take much more leadership in certain political issues,
Absolutely.
Now we have, this is also related now to the majorities we have in the Parliament.
Yeah, I was going to mention that was going to be my concluding question for you. So on that note, we've seen the dramatic shift in the majority coalition right now in the Parliament, namely that the EPP had aligned with the far right on the sustainability omnibus. On this point, do you see the von der Leyen coalition at risk?
I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope not. I might say we have, voted against the questions of confidence against her. As you know, we don't want to give everything, like for granted.
Of course.
Oh, yeah, they need to understand that we are here to support, but not renouncing to our principles. The chief of S&D, Irache Garcia, was very clear when she was demanded the issues of housing, and we could put it in the files, in the portfolios of this commission. This is due to the effort of the S&D. In the other hand, we want and we need stability. Most of these questions of confidence, or the majority of them, was coming from the extreme right. And she has some people opposed in that part of the conservative side of the Parliament, but we should think that we need to be responsible. And this is important. It took a great effort to make this, body of commissioners. So I think we need to support it. And on the other hand, I will say something.
Yeah, please.
President von der Leyen is not from my political family. And in spite of the fact that the differences we might have, I might say, and I think it's fair to say this, that she has been also, pushing for trade agreements in a very critical moment for us, with all these tariffs and all of this. So she was pushing with Mercosur, which it was a very thing to do. Today she's in South Africa also with, for another meetings related to that, and then with the GCC strategic partnership FTAs with UAE, for example, or with India or with South Korea.
Yeah.
I think we need to put we need to be clear in that sense. So in spite of any other difficulties, and that it took very long for her to talk about the sanctions against Israel, she's done it. So we need to be, I think, what politicians should do, and parliamentarians, is to be more equanimous. It's not about criticizing other people because they are not from your political force, but try to be, equanimous and fair,
Yeah, and aligning at the end of the day, it's for the good of the people.
Yeah, we need to cooperate much more. At the end of the day, people need consensus, and we need to get consensus in some politics that are good for people, and this is what we have to work for.
Well, thank you, Hannah, for such a vivid conversation and your points from the Parliament's role in foreign affairs as well as the current state of the von der Leyen coalition. Wish you a lovely day, and as well wish our audience a lovely day, and thank you for tuning in.